I'm back. And hopefully for more than just one video a month. Hi, my name is Dawn Dalton. I am a freelance writer and an author, and I unintentionally took the better part of 2 months off. And part of me's not really sorry about it, but the other part of me wishes that this year didn't happen the way it did. So let's talk about what the heck is going on and why I took so much time off and how it's affecting my writing, and kind of get back into a good pace. So this may be a long one, I'm not sure. Grab yourself a beverage and let's get to this. So I guess to explain why I took the last 2 months off, I need to go back to the beginning of the year and kind of explain how everything built to the point where I absolutely needed a break. And for those of you who remember, the beginning of the year, I was coming back from some pretty bad writer's block and getting the edits done on Press Start and just trying to find my groove. My work did send me out of town in January, but it didn't really super affect my writing. February came, and that's where the year went sideways. The day after my birthday, my father-in-law fell and ended up in the hospital, and that meant taking time off of work to go sit with him and kind of be everybody's emotional support animal and be the court jester and keep people's minds off of what could be going on. He was released and scheduled for surgery and told that if this happens again, just go straight in. And not 24 hours from his release from the hospital, we were back in a different hospital so he could have his surgery. And at that point, I was already emotionally drained because I was everybody's support animal. I wasn't writing, I wasn't doing my articles, I wasn't doing anything that I was supposed to be doing because I would come home from work or the hospital and just zone out. And for the next couple of months after his release from the hospital, you know, double checking, making sure he's got what he needs, etc. And it really affected my writing, obviously. Book 2 in my series did come out in March, to no fanfare whatsoever. I didn't even have a physical copy of my book because I didn't order my author copy separate from a restock of Game On and stocking up on Press Start. So I didn't have any videos of the book, I didn't have any pictures of the book, I didn't really have anything to post, which was a learning experience in and of itself. At the beginning of June, I started the 185-day Insane Author Challenge in an effort to push myself to get back to writing and posting content and reading and doing all the good things that I'm supposed to be doing as an author and a human. And for the first better part of 2 months of it, I did really well, at least posting content and walking and reading and drinking my water and all that fun stuff. And then I fell off. I also kind of knew going into it that it was a terrible time to start a challenge like this because I was going into a very busy season. June saw me going up to Wisconsin to go see my best friend and watch her daughter graduate, so I didn't really get much writing, but it was a much needed, like, emotional release to go up there, especially because it was 6.5 hours each way in the car where I really had time to kind of settle in and think about things and think about why I have so much resistance to working out and, my writing and what have you. July saw a very big ramp up in how busy my life was getting. I went on another work trip, which I actually got a good chunk of writing done while I was there, mostly because I was pushing through for the 185 challenge. I had a writing retreat, which I absolutely adored, highlight of the year. I want to do it again, but I also kind of want to do it closer to civilization, because by the end of it, the walls were kind of closing in on me. And then I went to Gen Con, which was the last time you guys saw me, was my wrap-up Gen Con video. And the really cool thing about Gen Con is I go as a writer because the Writer Symposium is there. I go as a freelance writer because I need to go talk to people. I go as a fan because I'm a nerd. But it is a very exhausting weekend. And I came home, and of course I caught Con Crud. The highlight of Gen Con for this last year and the year before was one of my friends bringing me a copy of my book to sign, which is always fun. So I got Con Crud, and then I had a craft show, which is the only one I have this year, because the Science Center did away with First Fridays, and I no longer have that outlet, which is fine. My work has been giving me more hours. I haven't needed craft show money to kind of bridge the gap. I do kind of miss having that crafting outlet, but life happens. And as the month was wrapping up, my mother-in-law ended up in the hospital with sort of a scary thing. And during all this time, from June until September, we had been fighting on and off with Miss May having UTIs and just generally not feeling good. In July, she had her 17th birthday. And shortly after my mother-in-law got out of the hospital, we ended up taking May to the vet for her last trip. And yeah, so I don't have my coworker anymore. And that was the beginning of September. And obviously, I've been dreading writing sessions because I don't have my coworker. The flip to that is I don't have to keep half an eye out to make sure that she's sleeping and not getting up and, needing to use the bathroom. So yeah, this year has been basically a decade of one emergency to another, and I'm a little over it. So how has it affected my writing? What is the state of my writing right now? The state of my writing is there hasn't been much writing. I did manage to finish Press Start and get it into formatting in time for it to release at the end of March. Barely. While I was doing the 185 Insane Author Challenge, I was working on a standalone martial arts romance, as well as book 3 for the House That Gaming Built series. And I quickly dropped Love in the Shadows to focus on Roll of the Dice, because I realized that the timeline I had given myself to get my martial arts book out was not gonna happen. So for the most part, a lot of my writing has stalled. In fact, You can see how well I did on the Insane Author Challenge. There's just huge gaps, and a lot of that is either I got sick or somebody else was sick or I was needed elsewhere, and so the writing has not been that great this year. And I know that I put a lot of pressure on myself to try to keep going when I should have rested. And so at the beginning of September, I offered to step back from my role at EN World as a freelance writer, as the Paizo writer, so that they could have somebody who is more consistent on coverage take over. And luckily, my editor is so amazing. He got back to me and he's like, if you need to take a break, take a break. I don't want to lose you, but if this is just, emergencies that's keeping you from writing, just take the break. The stuff can wait. We'd rather keep you than have to bring in a new writer and get them up to speed. So I'm really happy about that. So I am still writing for EN World. It's just been a hot minute since I wrote anything. I have a bunch of books that are sitting, waiting for me to dive into them and do some reviews. My last review was called A Puff Piece, so I need to be a little bit less fangirl and actually point out a few bad things about the book too. I am getting back into writing and falling back in love with my stories, but it is slow going right now. I am going to restart the 185 Insane Author Challenge at the beginning of October. I'm going to give myself just a little bit of time to kind of settle in and reread and rewatch the videos about it and give myself a bit of thinking time, because I did sort of jump into the challenge last time without thinking about how it's going to affect my life and how I'm going to schedule in the time to get everything done. So yeah, that is the big updates on my life. I'm hoping to go into the last 3 months of the year with more mental clarity and less emergencies and just doing what it is I love, and that's writing. I do have one final work event for the year at the beginning of October, so just as I am restarting my 185 Insane Author Challenge, I am going to be sent out of town. But theoretically, this event won't interrupt my writing nearly as much as the last few. So if you've been enjoying catching up with me and watching me struggle bus this year, be sure to feed the algorithm, boop that like button, and subscribe. And I will see you next time. Bye.